not subscribed to our channel, you can do so by clicking the subscribe button as shown above. Hello friends, welcome to Kamat Astrology. In today's video, we will look at how the year 2023 will be for the world in general. So I am going to do a very simple analysis using mundane astrology or Medini Jyotish. And in this, we will use the kaalpurush kundali as a reference to determine what will be the impact on the world. So in this video, we are not going to do any ascendant wise analysis, but we are going to speak about how the world will be in 2023 and how that year will be overall for all of us. Now what I have done is, I have taken the chart as on 1st January 2023 00, which indicates the start of the English New Year, that is on 1st Jan 2023. Now some of you may want me to analyze the chart as on the day of Gudi Padwa, that is the Hindu New Year. But in this video, I am going to restrict myself to analyzing the chart as on 1st Jan 2023. Even if you take the chart of Hindu New Year, you will not find much difference. I have already done that analysis. So when I first created this chart, I looked at the sign of Aries because it is the first house in the zodiac belt and it is the first house in the kaalpurush kundali. Now in the sign of Aries or Mesh, you can see a red square, and in that square you can see three planets: Rahu, Moon and Uranus. So it is a kind of lunar eclipse. It is a kind of Grahan Yoga. So the year begins with something eclipsing the moon. That is our mind. Now what is Rahu actually? Rahu is nothing but greed and obsession. So the year begins with people becoming greedy, leaders becoming greedy, trying to achieve their material goals, as well as their own selfish ambitions. Now, just a few days back, I had made a video that if you want to understand what a person thinks about constantly, look at the planets before and after the moon and the planets conjunct the moon. So now let us look at the planet just after the sign where the moon is placed. So you can see Mars, represented by the letter Ma, is indicated by a green arrow and placed in the sign of Taurus or Vrushab, which is the natural second house in the zodiac belt and the kaalpurush kundali. Now what does the second house indicate? Second house indicates family. In this case, it is the world as a family. It also indicates speech. It indicates wealth. Taurus is a fixed sign. It is represented by a bull. And now who is there in this sign? Mars is present in this sign. So when Mars is in Taurus, Taurus is all about money. And Mars here becomes very concerned about money. Mars here becomes very stingy. And when Mars is in Taurus, it shows that the world will face some kind of hunger crisis. Lot of financial problems will come in the world. Recession will also come in the world. And therefore, this Mars indicates that our mind will be troubled by thoughts of hunger, recession, and at the same time, we will be obsessed by some kind of greed to achieve our desires. And if you see the planet just before the moon, you have Jupiter there in the natural 12th house of Pisces, which indicates spirituality. So all these problems, that is hunger, recession, loss of jobs, all that is also going to draw us towards spirituality. So the mind gets trapped between a desire to achieve more and more, to somehow conserve wealth, as well as in the process, the mind wants to move towards God, towards spirituality. and this is actually the beginning of something called Yug Parivartan, or a change in energy across the world. Now, let us look at the seventh house, where you can see the letters Ke, which represents Ketu. Now, the seventh house is the sign of Libra or Tula, and it is represented by a weighing scale or a balance. So, this sign of Libra or Tula represents balance, harmony, and relationship. Now, we are looking at this at a world stage, so it represents the relationship between different countries, between different leaders. And what do we have in the sign of Libra or Tula? We have Ketu present. How is Ketu symbolized? Ketu is symbolized as a being with only the body and without the head, and holding a sword in one hand. Now, what does Ketu do? Ketu actually separates things. Ketu splits things apart. Ketu breaks relationships. Ketu makes us fail so that we are drawn towards God. And therefore, what this Ketu is going to do here is it is going to destroy the relationship between the leaders of different countries. It is going to sever relationships with its sword. Ketu gives sudden effects. So, sudden events will cause relationship between different countries to sour or split up. And therefore, Ketu is going to bring about break in relationships across the world. Now, let us move to the next sign where we see planets, and you can see an orange circle. In the bottom left square, you can see two planets, Mercury represented by Me and Sun represented by Su. And this is the sign of Sagittarius or Dhanu, which represents righteousness, which represents war for righteousness, which represents law and justice. Now, what is Mercury all about? Mercury is the ruler of Gemini and Virgo, and Mercury represents writing things, documentation. And what is Sun? Sun is the king who gives rules, who gives guidelines, who formulates laws. So when Mercury is with Sun in the natural ninth house of Sagittarius, it indicates new laws, new rules will be framed, which will impact the world in general and change the world order. So this indicates documented rules and regime changes in the times ahead in 2023. Now remember, Mercury also rules the sign of Virgo, which is the natural sixth house of conflicts. It represents the third house of Gemini, which represents neighbors, and therefore it rules both neighbors and conflicts and is placed in the sign of war, that is Sagittarius, with the powerful Sun. So what is going to happen is Sun represents the government, and therefore different governments of different countries will be at war with each other. So this combination also indicates war in different parts of the world, each country thinking that it is fighting for a righteous cause, which may not really be the case. So Mercury Sun in Sagittarius show new rules being framed, new regimes coming in, new wars happening across the world. Let us now move to the next sign, that is the 10th house of Capricorn, where you can see a red circle with three planets, Saturn, Venus, and Pluto. Now Saturn is almost at 28 degrees at this time. Pluto is at 1 degree, and Venus is very close to Pluto, around 3 degrees. So what happens when Venus, Pluto and Saturn come together? Now let us understand what is the sign of Capricorn or Makar. Capricorn or Makar is the natural 10th house in the zodiac belt, and therefore it represents the world stage. It represents the economy. It represents status. It also represents our karma. or actions. Now, what is Venus actually? Venus is the planet of love, it is the planet of romance, it is the planet of relationships. And now Saturn is impacting this relationship in the sign of Capricorn. As I said, Capricorn is the world stage which represents the government, the economy, which means that these relationships come under certain amount of stress. There is Pluto also there, and Pluto represents breaking down of old structures, breaking down of hierarchical structures to create new structures, to create new society. So what is going to happen is these wars are going to happen and they are going to break the old structures, the old fabrics through which we are living through, so that a new society is built upon. Now, this sign of Capricorn indicates the general public, it indicates the workers, it indicates the masses. Saturn also indicates workers and laborers. And Venus here indicates desire. Pluto indicates protests, Pluto indicates revolutions, just like Uranus. So people across the world are going to protest against their governments, seeking for new regime changes, seeking for new laws, and seeking for better changes in the economy, because now there is an economic crisis which is going to happen. So definitely these three planets here indicate some kind of social revolution in the year 2023. Now some of you may argue that Jupiter is sitting in the sign of Pisces, so really nothing will happen and so and so. But remember, Saturn is still aspecting Jupiter. Saturn is controlling Jupiter to a large extent through his third aspect. And therefore, to really get good results from Jupiter, a lot of effort is required on the part of an individual. That is, he must have really good karma to get the best results from Jupiter in this time. Let me move to the next sign, which is the sign of Aquarius, where you can see Neptune present. Now, what is Neptune actually? Neptune represents water bodies. Neptune represents delusion, illusion, magic. And this is the natural 11th house in the zodiac belt, which represents large organizations, which represents friends. So what happens is, many of us are still under an illusion that everything is alright, nothing is going to happen, things are going to be very fine. So Neptune is creating that illusion in our mind, but it is not so. We need to be prepared for the tough times ahead. And that is the message which Saturn gives as it is aspecting Jupiter. Saturn is clearly telling us that you need to do more good karma. You need to do more hard work to actually get good results. Neptune also indicates substance abuse to an extent, and therefore people across the world may take to some form of substance abuse in the year 2023, which is not good for them. Lastly, I move to the sign of Pisces, which is the last house in the zodiac belt, where you see the planet Jupiter represented by the letters JU in the top left square. And this is the sign of spirituality. This is the sign of moksha. This is the sign of liberation. This is the sign of expenses. This is the sign of isolation. Jupiter is a teacher. Jupiter is divine knowledge. And Jupiter in Pisces can actually give you the best results, provided he does not receive any malefic aspects or is not surrounded by malefics. But in this case, you can see Jupiter is receiving the aspect of Saturn, and just in the square ahead of him, you have Rahu. So in reality, Jupiter is not really independent enough to give results, but nevertheless, Jupiter here takes people closer to God, makes us move towards devotion, and tells us that this is the only right path to actually serve the purpose of our life. So friends, this is how the year 2023 is actually going to be. But now what happens on 18 January 2023? On 18 January 2023, Saturn, who is currently in the sign of Capricorn, transits into the next sign of Aquarius. And then things start moving very fast. So after January 2023, that is 18 Jan 2023, things on the world stage will move very fast because Saturn in Aquarius starts giving quick results. Around April 21st, 2023, Jupiter, who is currently in Pisces, moves into the sign of Aries. And in Aries, Jupiter will be conjunct with Rahu. And when Jupiter is conjunct with Rahu, what happens? Divine knowledge gets tainted. People start using religion to serve their own purposes. And that also indicates beginning of new conflicts in the Middle East region. So countries such as Saudi Arabia, Iran, Iraq, and other countries in the Middle East, turmoil will start in those regions after April 21st, 2023. So that is not a very good news for the world in general, because this indicates the beginning of new wars in the Middle East region. Now Rahu and Ketu pretty much remain in the sign of Aries and Libra throughout the year 2023, but around October 2023, these nodes are going to shift signs. That is, Rahu is going to move into Pisces and Ketu will move into Virgo. Again, what happens is with Rahu in Pisces, people get deluded from the goal of moksha. They start becoming very selfish, self-oriented. And Ketu in the sign of Virgo indicates that new diseases will start because this is the natural sixth house in the zodiac belt. So this shift of nodes post October 2023 is also not a very good thing for the world in general. However, Jupiter will then become free from the influence of Rahu at least, and he will only have to tolerate Saturn's aspect. So in a way, Jupiter will still offer a lot of protection, and many people will strive for a new world order and also move towards spirituality in a big way. So friends, to summarize, year 2023 marks a major shift in energy patterns across the world. You will see a lot of wars in the year 2023, especially in the Middle East region. And also at the same time, you will see people struggling because of hunger, because of loss of jobs, recession. Relationship between the world leaders and different countries will split apart. But all this will be for a higher good, signified by Jupiter, that is, people moving closer to God, people moving closer to spirituality, and understanding their true purpose of this life. Now, one more question which is commonly being asked is, will there be natural disasters in the year 2023? Definitely yes. I do see some earthquakes in the Indonesian belt and in the area of South America, especially Southern California. But I'm still doing a detailed research on that, and I'll try to make a video on that shortly. So in 2023, some earthquakes will be there, some natural disasters will also be there on a large scale. But I'm still doing a detailed research, so I'll hold on to that analysis for now. So friends, if you like this video, please mark it as liked on YouTube. For any queries, please write to us at astrosevaworld@yahoo.com, and we'll be glad to assist you. To know more about us, visit our website astroseva.tripod.com. So friends, thanks a lot. Bye. Take care and stay safe. We'll see you soon with another video.